Hey there, everyone, and welcome to this week's Unit of Study rotation. For Unit of Study this week, we're going to be practicing together first in part 1, and then in part 2 and 3, you're going to get the chance to try on your own. We're going to be talking about fair share and measurement arrays today. We've been discussing in class that there's really a big difference between these two types of problems, and today we're going to explore how we can use arrays for both of them to solve for a problem. So we're going to look at this problem first. Here's what it says. Eric bought plants for his family members to put in their homes. He bought 34 plants. If he wants to share them with his 6 family members, what is the most he can give to each? So again, we want to decide, is this a fair share type of problem or a measurement type of problem? Remember, in a fair share problem, we know how many groups there are or how many people there are, but we don't know how many are in each group or we're giving to each person. In a measurement problem, we know exactly how many is in each group or going to each person, but we don't know how many groups there are. So with that in mind, think about this problem. Eric bought plants for his family members to put in their homes. He bought 34 plants. If he wants to share them with his 6 family members, what is the most he can give to each? Is this, do you think, a fair share problem or a measurement problem? Go ahead and enter your thinking into Play Pause It Now, and then we'll talk about it together. Okay, now that you've done that, let's talk about this problem. We know that there's 34 plants, and we know how many people he's giving it to or how many groups there are. So we know the amount of groups, so that means it is a fair share problem. If you said fair share, awesome. If you said measurement, it's not correct because we don't know how many are in each group, but we know how many groups there are. So let's go ahead and solve this now. I know we have 34 plants, and we are now going to be splitting it up 6 ways. So I'm going to type in this box and I'm going to put one family member here, another family member here, here's 3 family members, 4, 5, oops, and 6 family members. So now I have my 6 family members represented. So those are the amount of groups that I have. And now I'm going to take that 34 plants and divide them evenly. So I want you to think about how many we can give to each person. Let's just start by giving each person 2 plants. If I give each person 2 plants, I now have 12 plants represented inside of my array. So now I have 2 in each group so far. I'm going to go ahead and add more because I only have 12 in my array, but I have 34 total. I want you to try to do the rest on your desk or in Braden Camp and enter your answer into Play Pause It when you have it. Once you have that, click on Submit and you'll be able to see my thinking. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and give each family member 3. I'm going to give them each 3. So here's 3. If I give each of them 3 here, there's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. So I have 18 in this row and 12 in this row, so I've given 30 away so far. I have 4 plants left. Now, I can't split 4 evenly, so I'm not able to give each family member 1 more. So Eric is going to have to keep those 4 extra plants and only give 30 away if he wants to give them to his family members evenly. So now I knew the amount of groups. I did not know the amount in each group. So I know that 2 plus 3 is 5. So Eric is going to be able to give 5 plants to each of his family members. So the answer is 5 plants. He's going to have 4 extra, But the answer is 5 plants because it says what is the most he can give to each of his family members. Let's look at one more together. Here's the next one. It says, Jessica is laying new tile in her dining room. She has 50 tiles and each row will fit 6 tiles. If she uses all of the tiles, how many rows will she be able to make in her dining room? Think about it. Do we know the amount in each group or do we know the amount of groups? Is it fair share or measurement? Enter your thinking into play pause it now. If you said measurement, you are correct, and here's why. We know there's 50 tiles, so we know the total amount, and we know each row will have 6, so we know the amount in each group, but we're not sure how many rows there's going to be. So we know that this is a measurement type of problem. And because it's measurement, we're going to need to figure out how many groups there are. So this one is going to be flipped a little bit, and I'm going to show you what I mean here in just a second. So I know if I make one group, one row of tiles, there's going to be 6 in that row. So if I have one row, I'm going to use 6 tiles. If I decide to do 3 more rows, there's going to be 18 in those 3 rows total. So now represented in my array here, I have 24 tiles represented. I need to keep going until I get to 50 tiles or close to 50 tiles. I want you to try to keep going on your desk or in Braining Camp to see if you can find how many groups of tiles we'll be able to make if there's 6 in each and we only have 50, and enter it into play pause it. And once you click submit, you'll be able to see my thinking. All right, I'm glad that you've entered your thinking. Let's keep going. If I do 4 rows, I know that is going to equal 24 tiles. So now I have 24 plus 18, which is 42, plus 6 more, which is 48. There are 50 total tiles, so I have 2 extra tiles, but I'm not able to make another row out of those 2 extra tiles. So I'm going to stop here, and Jessica's just going to have 2 extra tiles, and the amount of groups is my answer, or the amount of rows. So here's 4 rows plus 3 rows is 7 rows, plus 1 more row is 8 rows. So my answer is 8 rows. And she's going to have 2 extra pieces. So that is my answer. When we think about a fair share problem, our answer is represented at the top of the array. That's the amount in each group. When we think about a measurement problem, it is the amount of groups we're trying to determine, and that takes place on the left side. So as you work in part 2 and 3, you're going to have those 2 types of problems. Think about the importance of knowing the difference between the amount of groups and the amount in each group. You are now ready for part 2. You've graduated from part 1, and it's time for you to practice on your own. Go back to Canvas and click on the part 2 video to see what you need to do next.